If you'll join me in taking your breath straight into your body today, deep breath, breathing in. And as you exhale, just allow a sigh. And as you breathe in, just feel the prana. So we want to breathe so that we're filling our lungs, which goes essentially, the tip of our lungs is up here at the shoulder. So you want to breathe into there and into your full chest, really all the way to the diaphragm, the front of the body and the back of the body. Filling all that space with prana, with oxygen. It's so important. The respiratory system is the main detoxification of our entire body, and most of us are hardly breathing. So as you breathe in and exhale with a sigh, continue to breathe. So we want to distinguish the oxygen, right? That's the air element in the body, super important for all of the detoxification of our body. And if we're not really taking strong, loving breaths into our bodies, we're not pulling enough air or oxygen. And then there's the pranic or energetic chi or prana that also comes in with that breath. So you don't have to do a fancy breath work practice to begin to pull both oxygen and chi into the body, prana. Both the grosser element of air and this more subtle element aspect of prana energy. So if you continue just focusing on breathing, begin to breathe into the back of your body. Air still going into your lungs, prana now seeping into your back body and expanding the muscles between your ribs, the intercostal muscles. So you might have to rearrange your body to get oxygen into the back of your lungs, prana into your back body. You might have to round your back a little bit to concentrate in getting the prana into your back body with slow exhales. Path of consciousness is the path of truly harnessing the breath. So as you breathe these breaths, you might feel like you have to force the breath into certain places that have restrictions. And I'm just going to encourage you to gently force the breath into those spaces. Those restrictions can be caused by physical issues, trauma stored in the body. Whatever the reason, if there's restriction in that part of your body, just continue to gently find the edge of bringing both breath and prana into that space. You might feel the muscles expand, or you might just feel the subtle flow of prana moving into that area. When you've taken like 5 or 6 breaths in one of those areas, move into another area in your body. And if you have chronic pain, I'm going to ask you to begin breathing and concentrating the prana, the breath. Now, when we're breathing, for example, into the hip, just notice that it's more prana. Obviously, you don't have lungs in your hip, so you're directing prana now. So, as you direct prana into that part of your physical body, you might put your hand on that part of your body to let the prana meet your hand. And notice after a series of breaths how that area starts to release resistance as you gently work with that. And then as you continue working in that space, you might feel your neck or your head begin to move. So just allow this, if you will. You're breathing into these spaces. And if you allow your head to move where it needs to move, it may turn. We're not rolling the neck so much. Just allow it to turn and allow it to stay there and breathe into it wherever it landed. And then just allow your neck to unwind itself slowly. These are slow movements, most likely. And begin to breathe into the part of the body that's just ever so slightly moving. This is the unwinding of fascia, soft tissue that's been held in a specific way. So breathe into that new space that opened up and just stay with your breath. This is especially important for those areas where you have chronic pain. So you're breathing into that place and you're staying with that part of your body, even if there's a little pain. And as you breathe both air and prana into that part, stay with yourself. And if your breath is concentrated in the neck or shoulder area, continue breathing there and continue just allowing your neck to make micro, slow movements. This is an unwinding process that the body goes through with the fascia. The fascia gets tightly held. So as you breathe prana, the neck or the shoulders might pause at a place, and then you just breathe a little bit more. Staying with yourself, staying with the prana moving, allowing that part of your body to shift. Your body's actually moving itself in these micro ways. So as you breathe into that part of you, you can just feel these micro movements as prana moves through, directing your breath into this. And then listening for where your body draws you next, draws your breath next. So even there, though there's a little movement and you're awareness layer of your body is active, you're infusing prana into areas that are restricted and maybe even frozen or locked up. Just scan your body and notice where there's tension in the joints or muscles. And if you want to start using the violet flame, you can bring the spiritual layer of the body into this Pranic exercise, or you can just let yourself see how the light travels with the prana, and your conscious breath is what does the healing, the consciousness that rides the wave of your breath. So for me, my attention moves after about 6 breaths into a new space, and I begin the breathing process there, and I feel the body move, my body move. And I just keep looking for the tension, the restriction. And the mind can't wander because it's so deeply attentive to the sensation in the body and drawing prana into that part of yourself. If the mind gets restless, you can anchor it to a mantra. Either I am the violet consuming flame, healing my body, or simply I am the violet consuming flame. Or aham prema, I am divine love. I am the divine love that heals my body. So we'll just keep the mind busy with a mantra if you struggle with focusing on your body and continuing to draw the prana into the body. Keep going. My body then says, now go here. Now bring the prana over here, please. These micro movements in the body will allow the prana to move into that space. You may lean a little bit to do that. And if you can bring the consciousness like you're putting aloe on a wound, like, is this where you need it? How is this? Is this okay? Bringing that level of care. With each breath into that part of your body. Listening to your body and responding with prana, with breath, with care. Never trying to make the pain go away, never resisting it, simply meeting the need by breathing into that space. Like these areas have been starving for prana and you're just here, You're just here to bring that nourishment. Feeling patient, not needing anything to change, not needing to fix. Like you're bringing water to someone who's been in a drought. Spending at least 6 breaths in each of these spaces until the body tells you where to focus next. Still focusing your mind on the part of the body that's asking for prana. I don't know about you, but as soon as I spend 6 breaths in one part, my attention gets drawn into another part. Good. And now, if you will, tap into the parts within yourself that feel nourished, cared for, tended to, and allow yourself to move into that consciousness of feeling cared for, nourished. And just see if you can feel that at a cellular level, even though there might still be sensation there. Just see if that hip or shoulder or neck can feel cared for or nourished. Just notice what that feels like. For there have been to, for there have been a need within you that was tended to. Just feeling that in each cell of that area of your body, that connection to that area of yourself. And like a misbehaving child who was just acting out to get attention, just see if that part of you that got loud to get your attention, just see if that part of you feels your care and connection. You will, like you would to a neglected child, assure that part of you that you'll do your best to stay connected, that it may be hard to remember to connect, but you'll do your best to keep bringing water and nourishment and care. Just notice what that intention to maintain connection with that part of you feels like. Feeling the gratitude from that area of your body. Like a child that doesn't hold a grudge, it just welcomes the care. It's like a sponge soaking up that care, that prana. Now, if you will, just notice what it feels like to begin to come into a space where you are both focused on these internal needs and sensations, but also beginning to open your eyes to the outside world. This is like tapping your head and rubbing your belly, right? Being able to concentrate in two areas, looking outside, but also being acutely connected to the prana inside your body and the sensations inside you. Keeping that internal focus. While at the same time being able to focus on that which is outside. I believe that this is full awakening, being able to be interdimensional, or being able to focus on the inner layers while navigating the external world. So people always ask me, how do you not get exhausted working with trauma all day? This practice of being acutely connected to myself and to my sensations and just being able to draw prana into those parts of myself, while at the same time being able to be aware and present to those around me. And of course, some people are more distracting and draw me outside of myself a little bit more easily. And so that's when I have to pull myself into my spine, one way energy, vertical energy, but also be deeply connected within my cells in the level of consciousness that we just built together. So it's not just pulling into my spine and going into the vertical, but it's also being so deeply present. If we were going to put a word to what we just did, we built a deep level of presence within our bodies. So imagine just taking a few breaths and being able to feel, oh, I'm reacting. Oh, I'm feeling anxiety because I'm connected to their field and they're feeling anxiety. Let me pull into my vertical line and breathe into the parts of my body that are resonating too much with their anxiety, so I can really fill out my insides, fill up the prana within my body, so I don't go into a state of depletion or deficit because I'm resonating too much with that person's mind or anxiety. Does that make sense? So it's a practice of like breathing and attending to that much. And, just as when you're learning to ride a bike, you have to be like, my right foot, my left foot, my balance, but then you get it wired into your body. The same is true for this practice. By really being able to go so deep into our pranic corners of ourselves and draw our attention and work with the muscles and the fascia and the lungs and the restrictions and all of that, it becomes our nature to be able to do that when we really need it. So I do this in the morning while I drink my tea. Maybe you could call this somatic awareness, but it's a little bit deeper than that for me. It's a deep space where prana meets the physical body. And that's where the trauma is stored, right there, the physical body and the pranic body. And it's intersected by thoughts and emotions and nervous system responses. But as you breathe into the crust of the body in that way, there is a deep internal awareness. When I was in there with you guys, I kind of felt like it was kind of a gruesome visual, but like I was in like a hospital and everybody is like, I need water, I need water, I need water. And I bring water to one corner and feed them with water and nourishment. And then there would be someone on the other side of the hospital in a hospital bed, like, I need water. And I'd go over to the hip and be like, okay, yeah, you can have water too. That's the visual I had because I was going from my shoulder to my hip to my ribs to my neck. So I don't know what your experience was, but as I went in there, it was like the parts of me who were starving, thirsty, We're like so excited to just get it. There were no stories in the body. The body's not like, you've neglected me so long, I'm going to punish you, or whatever stories that we make up with the mind about ourselves, to ourselves. It's not true. I have a client right now who just makes up a lot of stories about how broken they are or how they made this mistake. The body doesn't think like that. The body lives in the present moment. It doesn't make up stories about broken. It doesn't make up stories about neglect or abandonment. The body just has a need and wants the need met consistently. It's the mind that creates the suffering projection into the body. We don't have to do that. We all do this in some way through our suffering patterns. We all do this. We all have these strategies that we keep in place that keep us from loving and nourishing and meeting our own needs or listening to our own needs. So, whether it's a distraction pattern or a suffering pattern or a self-blame pattern, those are all patterns that exist in mano-maya kosha, the mental and emotional layer of the body. We don't have to do that when we're working with the physical and the pranic layers the way we just did. There doesn't need to be any past stories about our mothers and how our mothers didn't meet our needs and how we're bad and how we haven't met our needs. We don't have to do that with ourselves. We can just simply go inside and meet our needs. So thank you for doing this practice with me today. I had no idea this was what was going to come through, but I trust that this is what the collective needs. And what I didn't teach, because I thought it would be too distracting, is how to take this into a myofascial self-release. And that is something else that I find happens in my body because I've done John Barnes MFR. I've had practitioners work on me, and I know how when you hold prana in a specific place and then you let your body move, the fascia will unwind itself with a little tension and breath in that space. And what will happen to me after I've done this pranic practice is I'll just stay with my breath and I'll let my breath move. And the fascia is like, this is our like a rubber band that goes from our tongue to our toes, and it connects all of the muscles and the bones. It's an interconnective web. And as we get older, it dries and it contorts itself and it gets less collagen, less stretchy. Or if we've had any trauma, like a surgery that would create adhesions, or emotional trauma would create frozen patterns in our fascia. And the fascia is what carries the light in our bodies. So as you breathe in, and let's say have a pain right here, and you just hold it and you bring your breath, you might find that the fascia releases. And if you listen intuitively to how the body needs to just move, and it's not the mind doing circles with the neck, it's very different than that. It's really letting the body move in the ways that it needs to release chronic blockages or to unwind the twisted fascia in the body. A good friend of mine and one of the first healers I trained, her name is Sandy Kalin. She taught me all about John Barnes myofascial release, and I found a myofascial release practitioner nearby in my town, and I went there almost every week for about a couple of years when I was doing some major emotional and energetic spiritual work. And what would happen is I would shift spiritually, and then my body was like contorted, and I would go and I'd have to release and unwind those parts. And then I would make another big shift in consciousness, and then I would have to release. And so my body needed to keep up with the emotional and spiritual work that I was doing on myself. And it was through that, and I just saw Ellis comment, and craniosacral work, these subtle ways of working with my body with the emotional and spiritual work. And it's not that my mind was moving my body, it was consciously allowing the prana to heal itself. And I just wanted to drop that in because the work that we just did is the precursor to allowing the fascia and the unwinding to happen. And what you'll find is that your body might not want to keep your head straight like this. Your body might actually be a little shifted to the left because of a fascial restriction. And just noticing what it takes to mask that. I've been really researching and going down the rabbit hole of neurodivergence and masking. But in the physical body, if your physical body is kind of cocked like this, and you're like holding yourself upright, think of the amount of tension and pressure you're putting on your body by just not being able to work with the fascial restrictions. And the other thing I want to drop in, so craniosacral myofascial release through the John Barnes method, because he understands about trauma, and active release therapy chiropractic, ART chiropractic. ART chiropractic understands the nerves and the connective tissue. And that is when I had frozen shoulder, she can work with the nerve senses and the fascial restrictions before bringing my body back into chiropractic alignment. And so I introduced this concept of fascia and the cerebral spinal fluid because there are these very subtle aspects that are not traditionally acknowledged in our medical field that were truly what healed my body after going through a lot of the emotional, mental, spiritual trauma work that I went through within myself. So I offer that to whoever's on today who needed to hear that. These are always out of pocket investments. I set aside $5,000 per year to work on my body, my mind, my spirit. I budget for it always because my body needs maintenance just as my car and my tires need maintenance. This is just what it is to be a conscious human. If you want to not throw a lot of medicines and do a lot of surgeries reactively, this is the path that I've found personally, and it takes a lot of conscious and emotional investment to work with our bodies in this way. And to not do it from a place of I'm broken, but to do it from a place of like, oh, my body's needing something. Let me tend to it. Because most of us are showing up at the doctor saying, fix me, make this noise stop. But this noise is your body speaking to you, saying, hey, we got something going on over here. Let's change the oil. Let's rotate the tires. Let's do a little something over here in our shoulder this year that's going to set it up so that we don't have to have surgery. And that consciousness is what we're moving into. We don't have to deem ourselves broken and having to be fixed. And it's okay if we need the surgery too. Both consciousness can be okay. The surgery might be necessary. It may not be preventable, and we can still love our bodies and work with our bodies even in that space of needing surgery. We can do all of this to help heal the scar tissue and to help move the prana. All of it can be okay. None of it has to be this is right and this is wrong and this is okay and this is not. We're working with what our body needs, and we're working with what we can tolerate financially and physically pain-wise. Non-duality is a little bit more complex because we have to listen to the body all the time. I want to thank each of you for all that you put into the chat. That just helped me bring that to light, because I think it's all a part of holistic well-being. And I honor all of you who have had to find that on your own because there was no roadmap for that for all of us. Many blessings today and always, you guys. Thank you for doing this practice and calling this practice out. It will be on YouTube and SoundCloud. Many blessings.